a sort of deep understanding of the environments that people operate in. What they're presumably you're getting data from other systems. How complex is it to set up?
Certainly, it is just like an ERP or a Salesforce integration. The software is there, but you need to have it customized for a certain installation. And we definitely have a lot of data needs, and therefore integration is a big part. But at the same time, our data integration is for both internal and external data sources. And therefore, we usually work off an asynchronous data warehouse kind of an environment rather than trying to do these expensive API connections to multiple systems.
Well, we're going to definitely dive into some of this terminology a bit. But I was intrigued by something you said there in terms of instrumenting existing content sets. Are you partnering with other learning service providers?
Yes, that's a great opportunity because we have lots of great learning service providers, great brands that have excellent IP. However, when they go ahead and recommend training, most salespeople really want to learn. They do experience issues selling, but when they want to learn, they get forwarded to a 2-hour course or a 4-hour workshop, and that's where the adoption drops. And therefore, it's really important for having to convert these long format training into micro learning or conversational learning, which has increasingly grown in terms of the trend and investment. And therefore, reps can just interact and in a highly conversational format, they're able to learn all the concepts. And not only learn, the chatbot is able to immediately help them apply that content or apply that learning in the form of quizzes, practice elements, as well as actually doing the work while you're learning. So it provides a learning and execution platform that is really, really invaluable for a sales or leadership setting.
So perhaps I went to a workshop and I got a lot of material, some of which I was able to grasp and some of which I maybe didn't. And so later on the job, I have a way to sort of interrogate that concept, that content and those ideas in a very simple way through the chatbot. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. I can give you an example. For instance, a lot of companies will train their reps on account planning. But account planning is a great concept, but if you've not executed on it, it's a waste. So people may even go to the length of executing and putting up an account plan document, which they never go back to throughout the year. And therefore, they're never able to track through those actions and hold each other accountable towards an account growth plan. However, in a chat-based format, what we are getting to the reps in their hands is not only you learn about account planning, but right there the chatbot stops and says, hey, why don't we start planning for one of their accounts? The chatbot keeps asking questions. The rep puts in all the account planning information in the chatbot. And later when he needs it, he can just question, hey, who was the account stakeholder that I needed to talk to? Or what were the various projects that are running in this account? As well as the chatbot can wake up on Monday morning and just say, hey, Chris, you needed to do these 3 activities last Friday. Did you finish it? So it holds people, not only the rep, but also the ecosystem around the rep, accountable to all the action items that are planned. So it becomes a learning application and an accountability tool.
Yeah, sounds a little bit spooky, but I absolutely get your point. That it's sort of a coach that's always there and it can be looking at other data sets and even prompt me to learn, right?
Absolutely.
Based on other things that are going on around me. I think it would be really useful, Sanchita, to sort of unpack some of the terminology and buzzwords that we see all over the marketplace. So, you've mentioned a lot of terms, bots and AI and artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. Help us kind of understand what are the key concepts that we need to grasp in order to have useful conversations with vendors and providers around this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of AI or all of a chatbot experience end to end consists of 3 major pillars. The
Okay.
first is conversation automation, that how easily these chatbots are able to naturally converse with you, because if the conversations are highly robotic, the engagement will fall. So
Yeah.
conversation automation. The second is information automation. Once you've asked a question, the bot has a fork in the road. One, either it can provide you information that you've requested, or it does some action for you. So information automation is all about deep search algorithms that is able to search through multiple data sources, multiple content types, and get you just the right and the most relevant content that is matching your natural language query. And the third is action automation, that a bot to be successful in its interaction with the users, it not only retrieves information, but it can do some actions for you. For instance, writing an email for you, helping set up a meeting for you, or helping follow up on your behalf. So all these action automation are also key parts of the bot that will really set itself ahead of any learning management tools or technologies that are there.
Got it.
So
Let me just recap there. So there's conversation, that's the ease of engagement, and that's important to be good because you want to encourage people to use it and feel like it's a natural interaction. Then you've got some automation around the data that it can interrogate and bring back to you, the relevance of that data. And then last but not least, it can actually do things on your behalf, schedule and write and so on and so forth.
absolutely. And now to get down to the buzzword, let's talk about the conversation pillar first. So as soon as you talk to a bot, you do not write a query language. You will talk to the bot in natural language. And that is where the concept of NLP or natural language processing comes. It is a part of data science that is able to learn English, learn synonyms, learn associated words so that it can understand what you're saying. So that is NLP. But what NLP primarily does is it takes your English language question and converts it into an intent that the bot will be able to understand. You could say that, give me my forecast of this month. The intent is forecast, month is the entity, and now it will query a system and bring up the data. Or you may say, I want to know how to forecast. Now, the intent is how to forecast. It's a knowledge element. So
Got
it
it.
will query a knowledge system and bring that, content to you.
That's
Uh,
NLP, natural language processing.
the next is the entire branch of text analytics. All of search, searching documents and searching text is text analytics. You have various kinds of searches. You can do keyword related search, you can do metadata related search, you can do NLP search, you can do contextual search, which means in a search engine, you can write that I'm looking for a certain document, and it'll, with the name of the document, it'll bring about 133 results. But in a chat environment, it cannot behave like that and give you 133 results.
Right.
So it will have to ask you qualifying questions till it narrows down to a reasonable level of confidence that I can give you three options and 90% chance that those three options are relevant to you. So in that case, we use a lot of concept of knowledge graphs, of asking qualifying questions, and then being able to do contextual search based on other questions that you've asked in the past, so that I know that there is a certain amount of context and therefore the relevance of those results that I return are much higher.
Now, this is really huge for salespeople. I hear this a lot from sales teams who feel just overwhelmed about the amount of content that's coming at them and often confused as to what is the latest, freshest source of truth for them. In the Microsoft world, for example, where we're moving to sort of real-time shipping of features and functions,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in any software as a service world, this sort of deployment can happen in real time. Can these systems help guarantee the freshness and accuracy of information?
Yeah, absolutely. All search and ranking algorithms will take care of relevance, recency, popularity, and context. So relevance will be just how relevant it is. Recency is how recently it has been published, and popularity is how many people are viewing this. So then you know it's the auto feedback from the user community that which content is more relevant than the others, because people have clicked on it more often and they have been on that link for more often for longer, and they have said yes, it is useful. So a lot of crowdsourcing abilities to rank is also important.
Is that one reason perhaps why larger organizations are a better fit, because there is a larger content set and a larger sort of user population to make those judgments on?
Larger data sets definitely help. However, in any organization size, 20 to 30% of the time, reps are just spending looking for content. So any content system or anywhere and any system that can help them search through multiple data sources at once is definitely an advantage. But I do agree that larger the content set, the bigger is the mess and bigger is the problem, and hence higher is the ROI.
Excellent. Got it. So what's next? What's the term that we're going to bust next?
I think you would have heard a lot about machine learning and deep
Yes.
learning, and
Yes, ma'am.
they're deep and confusing. So I would like the audience to think about, visualize a concentric circle system, the three
Okay.
concentric circles. The outermost concentric circle is AI. AI is a branch of science that is talking about anything, any program that mimics human intelligence. So if it mimics human intelligence, it becomes artificial intelligence. Now you can mimic human intelligence in multiple ways. You can just write a set of rules, if then statement. So that is also artificial intelligence, because the way you think, now you've programmed the computer to think and act that way. But uh, if then statements and programming is a huge overhead and it takes a long time. Now we have more advanced methods like machine learning, which is the next concentric circle because it's a subset of AI, where instead of giving them all the scenarios and programming all the if then statements, you train the bot with samples to say that you go ahead and classify this for me. So instead of giving them explicit instructions, you put them in an environment and statistically it finds patterns. For instance, in most of the companies that employ us, they say that, okay, 70% of my sales reps are not performing. What should I do? So instead of going ahead and, sort of interviewing a lot of people, we try to see the evidence in the data. So we will run machine learning algorithms on the CRM data to understand the patterns of success. We will see, okay, most top reps have X number of opportunities in so many accounts, and they have their sales cycle is X. So we are able to profile a good rep, and these patterns then are used to recommend. So all the recommendation algorithms will use some form of machine learning or statistical methods to train the bot to mimic human intelligence. And the last branch, which is the smallest circle in the concentric circle system, is deep learning, where it's a kind of algorithm that teaches the software to learn automatically, like image recognition or speech, or even learning, the bot learning to coach using the conversations that have happened in the past. So this is deep learning, where it is primarily unsupervised learning and they are learning by themselves than having to give them a lot of samples.
Something like sentiment analysis, would that fall into the category of the deep learning systems?
Some of the advanced ones, sentiment analysis is primarily trying to understand whether it's a negative conversation or a positive conversation, or a negative image or a positive image. It is a branch of text analytics, which is a part of machine learning or deep learning. It can, depending upon what methods you're using, but it primarily tries to use positive and negative words and come up with an algorithm and an output that suggests that is this sentence or an image or a word more positive than negative. So it just tries to, and a lot of positive and negative emotions can also be used for classifications like news classification. We're talking about layoffs. Then not only we are using the word layoff and associated words of layoffs, but we are also looking at the sentiments of the general text.
Got it. How about something like